20. Collins soon set out to think of a successful love affair. Mrs. Bennet thought she was in the back room to see the end of the meeting, saw Elizabeth quickly open the door and run up the stairs to the hallway. In the room the next morning, he thanked him for the hope. They have a close relationship. Collins gladly took it and returned the thank-you note, and then gave the details of his discussion, where he thought he had a good reason to be happy, because his cousin was his cousin. Prohibit. It is based on his shyness and considerable respect. However, the information attracted Mrs. Bennet. He was glad that their daughter wanted to encourage him by challenging his ideas, but he did not dare to believe it, and could only speak. "But it depends, Mr. Collins," he added. "Lizzie thought. I spoke directly. I'll talk to him directly about it. He was stupid, and he didn't know what he was interested in, but I'll tell him." "Sorry," Collins shouted, "but if she's rude and silly, I don't know that she's the wife of a man like me, who's always hoping for the happiness of her family. And if she keeps denying me, maybe then she should not be made to look for her, for if she is angry, she will not help me." "So you don't understand," Bennet said. "Lizzie is progressing in such matters. All are as beautiful as ever. I'll go directly to Bennet, and when we are with them, I'm sure." They were not given time to answer, but they ran to their husbands, shouting at the lizards when they arrived at the library. "Wow! Bennet, she wanted it right away. We're all in trouble. You should ask Lizzie to marry Mr. Collins, because she's promised not to, and if you don't hurry, he changes his mind, and they don't do it." Bambo Bennet stared at his copy as he entered, placing it on his face in a low voice that did not change his relationship. "I am not happy to understand you," he said after speaking. "What did you say?" "Be Collins and Lizzie. Lizzie announced that she would not be with Mr., but if Mr. went to Mr., it has not got a Lizzie." "What should I do about this incident? The business looks desolate." "Talk to you, Lizzie. Tell her you're married, so you can get married." "Call him Roger. He'll listen to my opinion." Mrs. Bennet rang the bell, and Mrs. Elizabeth stared at the library. "Come here, my child," cried my father as he approached. "I am sending you an important message. I understand that Mr. Collins called you. Is this true?" Elizabeth replied, "Okay. I order wedding ideas?" "Sir. And I'm fine. Now we're here. Your mother insisted that you understand. All right, Mrs. Bennet?" "Yes, otherwise I will never meet again." You need another way to deal with that guy, Julian. From now on, your parents are unknown. I'll see you again, or not, if Mr. Collins' mother is in charge and I don't see you." Elizabeth couldn't help but smile after finishing the first thing, but she insisted that her relationship with her husband was definitely embarrassing. "Lord Benedictus, what do you want? You promised to come to the wedding." The man replied, "I have two requests. First, the use of freedom does not let me in the head, then the room, and I would be happy to see the library as soon as possible." At the same time, his wife, Mrs. Bennet, was not disappointed with the decision, and he met to talk with Elizabeth. It encourages and scares the effort. She did everything she could to please Jane, but Jane, in all his beauty, rejected him, and Elizabeth, sometimes very sincere, and sometimes with sweet magic, responded to her rebellion. Without a change of mind, his decision would not end. In this case, Mr. Collins feels alone. He was very jealous because he left his cousin, and though his pride was false, he did not suffer in any way. He really respected him. He said because his mother should be ashamed of him, he regretted it. In Luke, when the family was in confusion, Charlotte to tarry for a night. Lydians met in the hallway, when the play made its whispered, "I'm glad you made that, this is so fun. What do you think? Cicero, there was a chance Lizzie was handed over, and I won't ask her." Paul did not preach until he went to the answer of history to say, "Kitty." The conversation began in the morning room, where Benedict called Marcus Lizzie and asked them to fulfil the love they needed. Family. "Pray, dear, track Luke," which, when inserted into a loud bang, added, "Because nobody on my side, none of my feelings. I'm being cruel to yous, not for me." Paul's response was saved by the entry of Jane and Elizabeth. "Yes, he will come. He does not seem to know anything. We did not care much more in New York at the time, until he did what he wanted. But let me tell you, Mrs. Leeds, if you can," Bennet said. "Yes, you cannot see your friend. I'm sure I do not know what will happen to your father's death. I cannot receive you, I warn you. From now on, do it. I told you in the reading, you know. I don't need to talk to you any more. You will take my word for it. Speak to the poor child. Yes, I do not want to talk to anyone. People who are sad like me are not prejudiced. No one can say what I did. But always, people who do not need to worry will not be disappointed." The daughters are silent, knowing that you are not talking to her or trying to provoke her. That's why he said there was no break before he got to Collins. Mr. Collins entered the room more than ever. When he found out who she was, he said to the girls, "Now, all of you, rest assured, shut up and let me go. Let me talk to Collins." Elizabeth quietly left, followed by Jane and Kitty, but Lydia took him into custody, and would have let him go free. Mr. Charlotte, for the first time. Minister Collins and his family were very close, and not so indifferent. He was ready to leave. Through the window, he pretended not to hear. Bennet began with a voice, and said, "Well, Mr. Collins." "Alas," he replied, "let us be silent at this time. Apart from me," she continued this time in an unhappy voice, "being angry about your daughter's behaviour, it is the duty of all to renounce the inevitable evil. Special work for a happy young man like me, and I think I'm gone. There is no doubt in my heart that my good cousin praised me with his hand, for I have found many times that his work is not perfect as the rejected blessings begin to lose their value. I hope you will not accept me for despising my family, my dear wife, and thus harassing my daughter. Please try you and Mr. Bennet on behalf of your authority. I am afraid my behaviour could be blamed on your daughter's lips instead of yours. But we are all responsible for our own mistakes. I had a very good thing. My goal was to find a good friend, take care of the whole family, and if I was blamed in my own way, sorry." Until next week. I seem to be having an Ed Wood moment here for some reason, because apparently he was stupid. Stupid. I don't know who Roger is, but hey. Mrs. Bennet ran the bed. This chapter's gone so wrong. This is what happens when you translate into Latin halfway through. The plane, which is actually Lydia, or some Lydians if you prefer, said, "I'm glad you made it." This is what happens when you translate it via Latin. The names go a bit wrong. So, Paul, whoever he might be, did not preach. "Now, all of you, rest assured. Shut up and let me go. Let me talk to God." Sorry, this is so funny. He said, it's Mrs. Bennet talking actually, isn't it? When he found out who she was, he said to the girls,